Greetings, people! Welcome back to Clank Clank Radio Album Reviews. Today I'll be reviewing the latest album by a band that was on a necessary hiatus for 5 long years. That band and new album is Disturbed and their 7th studio effort, Immortalized. And I'm going to show you the really awesome looking album artwork right here. So here is this mountain formation of their mascot, and the mascot's name is The Guy. And then let's look at the inside. We have the guy right here up close, but he's in a human form. Oh shit, I'm pointing my middle finger here. And then here is more of the landscape and the environment that the guy is trapped in. And then we have the whole track listing. This is the deluxe edition, by the way, so instead of 13 tracks, you got 16, so 3 over here. For being a Disturbed fan from the very beginning of their career, I was pretty stoked to listen to the new album, and especially after I heard the first 2 singles, their self-titled track, Immortalized, and then the veteran one, which has got this really cheesy, but it's just a kick-ass comic book kind of looking type of music video where the guy is a superhero that is battling the music industry in a way. You'd have to check it out for yourself after this interview. Okay, so let's get going on the album review itself. Immortalized, in general, will sound pretty familiar for longtime Disturbed fans, since not much has changed in their overall sound and lyrical messages. Disturbed also hasn't truly strayed far from their typical songwriting approach, which entails chugging guitar riffs and bass lines with simplistic rhythmic drum beats. Also, vocalist David Draiman. His fast-paced approach to singing out the lyrics sounds pretty proverbial compared to the rest of the band's work. But I'll forgive him of that because he sounds very powerful and energetic on this record. Like, that's proof that this break was necessary. So, the songs, as for the lyrics, the songs pretty much talk about what the band has done in the past, what they're accustomed to. So, songs touch base upon issues revolving around topics like society as a whole with their issues, corruption of the government, and the aftermath of personal and intimate relationships. However, what's different from this album to the rest of their discography is their approach to the music production and then the electronic sound effects that they've utilized in certain songs on this one. And this is probably their most polished record to date, and that's thanks to producer Kevin Churko, who is commonly known to produce records by guys like Ozzy Osbourne and a band like Five Finger Death Punch. Also, I think the music on Immortalized sounds like the band took on this, it's hard to explain, but it's like this new approach to their original sound with these new bridge sections where the sonically, like, they climb up and they kind of climb back down, so there's this hill. It's kind of hard to explain it to someone that's not really as, like, musically inclined, but that's okay. That's how I put it. Songs like The Light, You're Mine, and Save Our Last Goodbye. These incorporate some electronic tones in the intros that seem reminiscent to the vibe of The Sickness. Yet the tones off of Immortalized sound a little bit jovial and kind of upbeat, whereas the electronics from The Sickness are, this dark and really intense, so it's kind of like the polar opposite here. Additionally, the use of the phone call that you hear in the beginning and end of Save Our Last Goodbye is a nice touch, really, to the song, because this one talks about literally saving our farewells and goodbyes to those that are losing their battle against some form of turmoil. That'd be like a life-threatening illness, I can't talk, such as cancer or severe cases of alcoholism. And that's one of my favorite tracks off this album, and it's a standout for me. Conversely, we have the song Light It Up, featuring someone, I'm assuming that it's David Draiman because he says that he writes a lot of his songs while smoking weed. I just gave away what this song was really about. So, like, that lighting of the bong that you hear in the background in the beginning, that easily hints at what the song's about. I just said it, smoking weed and having a good time. It's simplistic, but a bit out of place on this album. Of course, I'm referring to the cheesy lyrics. However, I think musically, it's an energizing song with a cool sounding guitar solo and catchy guitar riffs that just happen to pack the punch. Right. But the opening track, The Eye of the Storm, is what really had me excited for this album. It's a great instrumental, and it sounds like the music is just leading you straight in, like it's pulling you into the Wall of the Hurricane, starting with the title track and then from there on. So throughout the entire album, it's like you never leave the hurricane. I feel like the band, after being away from each other for so long, allowed them to kind of recharge themselves after the cycle of making a record every 2, maybe 3 years and then touring that album in support. This hiatus allowed the band members to kind of return to the fold refreshed as one strong and creative unit. After I listened to Immortalized a few times, this was one that I had to let grow on me, but after that, it sounds like that these guys are just more comfortable with one another than they have ever been before in their career. And everyone in the band was able to make a contribution to the music, so each of them gets songwriting credit on this record. Unlike their previous albums where it was usually guitarist Dan Donegan who wrote the majority of Disturbed's music, and I believe that David Draymond wrote all the lyrics for each album, so that aspect didn't really change that much. Another interesting aspect this album has is what we hear another cover done by Disturbed with Simon and Garfunkel's The Sound of Silence. This, in my absolute best opinion, is by far the best cover Disturbed has ever done in their career. Ever. A much better version than what they performed when they performed U2's I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, or in short, Ish With. They also did Tear for Fears' Shout. It's called Shout 2000 on their 2000 album, The Sickness. Land of Confusion by Genesis, Midlife Crisis by Faith No More, and then we have Living After Midnight by Judas Priest, and those two are off of the B-side record, The Lost Children. Anyway, The Sound of Silence creates this major break in the typical giant walls of guitar-driven and drum-blasting energy on the album. Disturbed just does a phenomenal job with regards to making this cover sound as if they wrote it themselves. So it could sound like an original if no one knew about the cover. Draymond's vocals are haunting and they resonate throughout the song beautifully, and the piano lines really add some depth into the murkiness of the tune. And then you've got the acoustic guitars and the string sections accompanied in the song that make it sound very organic and pretty vitalizing. However, one of the aspects that I'm kind of disappointed in with Immortalized is the majority of the songs lack those kick-ass, flavorful, and memorable guitar solos that Donegan is known for harnessing. Though the guitar solos on this record they're pretty neat, but they seem to sound somewhat like fillers in those songs. But hey, I think decently crafted solos are better than no solos at all, especially for certain genres of guitar-driven music such as Disturbed. Nevertheless, the riffs and drum work are nothing short of intense, and actually, they seem a little more creative off this album. Especially in the 3 bonus tracks, we got Tyrant, Legion of Monsters, and The Brave and the Bold. The guitars are actually tuned lower. See my shirt right here? This is actually a standard guitar tuning. So I think they might be doing it in drop B, or Dan Donegan might be using 7-string guitars. So adding to the letter is another B right here. And that makes the album sound a little bit deeper than normal, which is a part of what sets Immortalized apart from Disturbed's other records. So it's that time again for me to give this album a KKR rating that I think it deserves. With that said, I give Immortalized I'm looking at a 7.75 out of 10. Why didn't I give this one an 8 out of 10? I just felt like it. Simply just didn't feel like it. Well, okay, the reason being is because I was expecting Disturbed to move forward with their sound by pushing their boundaries in songwriting and their approach. In essence, Disturbed seems to be too comfortable with this particular formula of theirs. Am I disappointed in the lack of thinking outside the box, conceptually? Yes and no. I mean, these guys sound like no one else, and they feel confident in the way their music has turned out over the years, and they've been doing this time and time again together. I mean, I did mention this formulaic approach to music when I reviewed Breaking Benjamin's newest album, Dark Before Dawn. But they actually had intentions to write it in that way. Though I believe Disturbed has a bit more diversity in their music than Breaking Benjamin. Is this generic overall in sound? You tell me. Again, these are just my opinions. There's that saying that opinions are like assholes. Why? Because we all have them. And a lot of times people tend to mistreat other people's opinions And that's the part where, assholes stink, right? Don't sniff one. Or any. Opinions can stink if you don't respect the other ones, so try to respect one another's opinions. Okay, so I think I like Immortalized enough to listen to it on shuffle with the rest of Disturbed's discography, but it doesn't really live up to their fourth album, Indestructible. This, in my personal opinion, is their best effort. It's just dark, it's heavy, intense, and it's the most powerful thing that they've put together, and it kind of brings me back to the vibes of the Sickness album. I think Disturbed fans, old and new, will like Immortalized and the highlight songs, so I would give you tracks like the title track, The Vengeful One, The Light, What Are You Waiting For, Your Mind, Save Our Last Goodbye, and The Sound of Silence. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in to Clink Clank Radio. If there are any old and new albums that you guys want me to review in the future, please let me know in the comments, and I'm asking nicely, please like and subscribe my channel. I would feel a little more confident about myself in that way. In other words, or another way, take it easy, everyone.